The science has really shown that the gut plays a big role in the called homeostasis or balance of our body. And the microbes play a big role in this. The microbes express enzymes or neurotransmitters, and they play a big role in, for example, telling our hormonal cells in the gut to release a hormone that gets to the brain that creates fullness after a meal. So we never would think about this, that it's our bacteria telling the cells in our gut, send a signal to the brain to stop eating. There's others of these neurotransmitters that we have always studied at the brain level, like dopamine, endorphins. They're also produced by microbes, and some of them get into the circulation. We still do not understand the full implications of that.
They're even wired into our central nervous system, so things like moods and behaviors can be dictated by the microbes in your gut. So they're doing so much more than helping us with digestion. They're really wired into all aspects of our physiology.
I mean, they're producing thousands of different molecules that interact with us as the host. I use this example of an orchestra. So the microbiota are just the players. All these different players with their mixture of genes can ultimately produce something, a song which is beneficial for us. Now, this design has several shortcomings that evolution did not anticipate. One is it's dependent on what we eat. What does our diet do to this system? The most dramatic change that we see today is actually what happened in the last 75 years since the end of World War II. Probably with the advent of industrial agriculture, chemical agriculture, ultra-processing of foods in a way that the microbes have never really seen before.
In our lab, we take stool samples from individuals and do DNA sequencing and identify what types of microbes, what species of bacteria are living within their gut. Often, it can be difficult to look at a person's microbiome and see that it is in the best possible state it can be in because we're just comparing different Americans. For a long time, we studied the microbiome of Americans and thought that's what a healthy microbiome looks like. And then we started looking at these populations that were not living industrial lifestyles. We have stool samples here in this -80 freezer from Tanzania or in Peru in South America, and those individuals live less of an industrialized lifestyle. So they're hunting and gathering, they're doing early forms of agriculture. We find that their microbiome actually looks quite different from that of the average American. They had a diverse, complex ecosystem. And we realized by studying the American microbiome, we were actually studying a plane crash after the fact. The American microbiome had deteriorated and we had lost species over time. And it wasn't until we were studying populations around the world that we understood, oh, this is what a normal microbiome or a normal airplane is supposed to look like.
In one of our recent studies, we've found out that the hunter-gatherer gut microbiome has around 750 different species of bacteria, whereas the Californian microbiome has only around 250 different species. So we have lost incredible biodiversity in our gut. If we look at transitional communities that live somewhere in between hunter-gatherers and industrialized, we see an intermediate number of species. And what appears to be true across many studies is that the more biodiversity you have in your gut, the healthier you are. Rainforests thrive on biodiversity, and our gut microbiome is the same.
When we look at the microbiome of your average American, it's a less diverse ecosystem, one that looks more like a clear-cut forest, a lot of species missing. A lot of the diseases that affect people that live this so-called Western lifestyle, we don't see those diseases so commonly in non-industrialized populations. And we think that at the heart of a lot of these are problems with people's microbiome.
We're exposed to more chemicals and drugs than any other people that have ever lived.
We're eating more ultra-processed foods than ever before.
Part of the role of the gut microbiome is to train the immune system.
All chronic diseases of the Western world are associated with a microbiome that's gone off track. Once you have an ecosystem that's been decimated, there's new species cropping up that typically aren't associated with humans.
Fermentation took a back seat with the advent of widespread refrigeration. We've forgotten humanity's relationship with microbes.
The modern industrialized world is not our gut's best friend.
One of the